Treasury CS Ukur Yatani Kanacho is on Thursday expected to read his budget statement. The 2.7 trillion Kenya shillings budget will be his first as CS Treasury and the second holder of the post under the Jubilee administration. Faizal Ahmed caught up with him and discussed an array of issues, key among them how different this budget reading will be and his plans for Kenya's growing debt.
This year's budget-making process and presentation will be like no other before it. To give you an example, only 4 individuals, including the CS, will make their way from the National Treasury to Parliament buildings. And once there, only 25% of all members of Parliament will be allowed into the chamber to listen into the budget presentation. This the new normal brought about by the ongoing pandemic, which Treasury CS Ukur Yatani will also reflect on the 2020-2021 financial year budget.
But then all of a sudden we are here confronted by a challenge that was never anticipated, that was never planned for, that there are no history to react to them. So what did we do? We had to revise our budget policy statement to align to the current and the realistic thinking that we are going through.
Estimated at 2.7 trillion shillings, concerns have been raised over the focus of the government spending in the next financial year. The bulk of the money at 1.8 trillion shillings earmarked for recurrent expenditure. However, Yatani insists that more has been done already to cushion Kenyans.
We came up with a number of fiscal interventions by reducing on the VAT, by reducing on the income tax, and therefore government in the process foregone about 172 billion Kenya shilling in form of taxes.
Yatani was appointed acting Treasury Cabinet Secretary in July last year following his predecessor Henry Rotich and subsequent presentation in court over charges of abuse of office. 6 months later, he was confirmed for the job and promised to take on the elephant in the government's room, war-torn spending and plunder of state resources. This earned him the name Mr. Austerity, even as questions linger on how successful he has been on this score.
First, we cut on some expenditure by 50%, like foreign travel. Even that time, because we realized sometimes the size of our delegation has been quite worrying. And those are expenditures which in most cases do not add too much value. They are good because you learn, they are good because you represent your country. But a job that can be done by 3 people, sometimes we send a delegation of 40, 50, which is really not necessary.
His appointment also coincided with the hue and cry over Treasury's inattainable appetite for dollar-denominated debts. In 2020-2021 financial year, a whopping 904 billion shillings has been set aside to pay the country's debt obligation. With the pandemic, would the country have negotiated better for a relief on payments?
There was a decision for tax moratorium, for debt moratorium. But it's only for a very short period, up to December. From May to December, we can now afford not to pay. There's an arrangement that will not pay for that period, but the payment that was due up to December is to be pushed in the future. But it also came up with a number of conditions. Kenya is a middle-income country, low middle-income country. The conditions set on us and the conditions set on least developed countries are different.
This as he defends the debt levels not trotting past the 6 trillion shilling mark.
But we are now working to curve, to flatten the curve by making sure that whatever we borrow can be repaid sustainably without necessarily increasing the total.
Going into the next financial year, Treasury continues to be bogged down by pending bills. Despite numerous instructions by President Uhuru Kenyatta and promises by state ministries, departments and agencies, pending bills are yet to be cleared.
We are very happy with the progress. Most counties have actually, over 30 counties are fully paid up. They have already cleared. This is a sustained engagement and making sure that, we also made them understand that this obligation needs to be paid. And before we release any exchequer, we also make sure that we look at the records and look at through the IFMIS, look at the payment channel, and when we confirm, we give them the money, and most of them have complied and have cooperated with us. There are only a few counties that are still having challenges. Now I think we have a pending bill of about 14 billion for the counties, and the bulk of that money is in only one county, Nairobi.
Development expenditure in the 2020-2021 budget has been set at 584.9 billion shillings, whilst the post-COVID-19 economic stimulus program will cost an approximated 53.74 billion shillings. All these funds expected to be raised from a depressed economy ravaged by the novel coronavirus, even as the government seeks to reopen the economy in phases. Faizal Ahmed, Citizen TV, Nairobi.